The following is a Cheeky Leprechaun production.
Pop culture is the entirety of ideas.
Me, Mario.
Let the bass kick.
I am the greatest.
Holy eggshell!
I am your father. This is the Pop Culture Report with Dan O'Kelly.
Welcome to the Pop Culture Report. I am Dan O'Kelly, and alive, well. I think I'm well. It's hard to know. Apparently, you cannot know if you've got coronavirus. I mean, you know, scratchy throat, maybe. I sleep with the fan on, so it could be that. What else are you apparently meant to have? Fever, don't have that. What else did they say? You could have a cough, a dry cough. Again, had a sore throat, thought it was the fan, tend to cough in the mornings. Seems to get better around midday, so I think I'm okay there. Runny nose, they say it's not that common with it. So that's good. Don't have one anyway. I feel alright. No aches and pains, touch wood. So, yeah. And you're probably going, oh, was there going to be a pop culture report this week? I don't know. Well, you know, little inside scoop. Yeah, there is. Why? Well, because I record out of my home. And guess what? That's where we might have to be for the next couple of weeks. Very interesting times, isn't it? I don't know about you, right? I get this, if there's a storm coming, like a really big storm, and they're like, you know, batten down the hatches, it's gonna be a rough night. I'm a little bit excited. There's something, it just gets you a bit, you know, I don't know, I guess excited about the idea of a storm. Because there's a little bit of uncertainty. It's like, oh, how bad could it get? Ooh, it's like a movie. This is kind of like a movie at the moment. I almost wish I didn't watch Contagion now the other week. You know, we spoke about that last week with Justin. Because it's ever growing more and more apparent how real that is and how accurate that movie was in terms of depicting what it would be like if there was a pandemic. Right? So, you know, you go down the supermarket, people are fighting over toilet paper and, you know, various essentials. It's weird. It's weird seeing how everyone's reacting. That's the crazy part. You know what they're all missing in the process? You know what's coming up? Easter. Everyone's forgetting about Easter. Plenty of Easter stuff on the shelves. If we have to batten down the hatches for a couple of weeks, guess who's got Easter sorted? This guy. This guy's got it sorted. Got all my Easter goodies for not only myself, but my loved ones. And just sort of hoping that everyone else around me has got enough essentials to sort of carry me along the way. That's the idea here. But yeah, look, it's a strange time. And as I said, I get to do this. That's fine. A lot of people are freaking out because they have to work from home. And yeah, okay. Work's drying up for people. You know, I work various part-time jobs. And already, like, you feel the pinch. You're like, holy crap. It's going to be a lean couple of months. And here in Australia today, the government announced that as of tomorrow, I think, which is Thursday, the 19th. So I'm recording this on Wednesday the 18th, in case something happens in the next day and, you know, this becomes a time capsule piece. As of tomorrow, they've further reduced the limited group group settings, for lack of a better term, from 500 people to 100 people. Now, my poor mate Jimmy, right? It's Jimmy's birthday this week. And we're meant to be celebrating on Saturday night, which I don't think we'll be doing now. So, Jimmy, if you're listening, I'm thinking of you, mate. And I'll give you a phone call on Saturday night from my house, my quarantined area, to yours, and we'll have a nice little, maybe a FaceTime or something to celebrate. But people's lives are being impacted. I know of a wedding that was meant to be on Sunday, wasn't invited. That's all right, probably not close enough. But nonetheless, I know of a wedding that's now been cancelled. 100 people isn't much. What does that start impacting now? All right, from a pop culture standpoint, cinemas. That's going to go out the window very shortly, I'd imagine. Cinemas, they're done. From there, I mean, sporting events we know are done. Comedy festival in Melbourne, that's been cancelled. That's done. That was done before the 100 reduced group setting. Why am I struggling with that so much? Groups of 100. Yeah, it's a weird time, isn't it? It's a weird time. You know, I've sort of started trying to stay clear of the shops, even a little bit of social media in a way. It's hard though with social media. You feel like that's probably my main news source. That's where I get a lot of it from. So I'm always constantly refreshing it, being like, oh, what's Scott Morrison saying now? What did Trump do? That sort of, because you're wondering. You're constantly wondering. The good thing though, let's look on the bright side. And here's the thing. I want to say this from the get-go. I'm not going to talk about, you know, coronavirus or COVID-19 for this whole podcast. It's getting enough exposure, all right? It's got a big head. I think it's getting enough attention as is, and I think it's important we have things to do and think about other than this shitty pandemic that we're in the process of beginning. That's the bad part. We're beginning this. Just beginning it now. So I want to talk about some other things too, and I've got something to talk about. Something really exciting from the past couple of days, which I've experienced, and let me tell you, there's a bit of meat on the bone, for sure. But before we get there, again, look on the bright side, people. Yes, there might be a 2 to 4 week, depending on how bad this gets, lockdown. You know, they're saying they're not going to close essentials like shops, supermarkets, I should say, schools. They're sort of umming and ahhing about. Those things that you need, again, that are essentials, that's what that word means, essential. That's not going to be going away at the moment. But other than that, you know, you're not going to be able to go out for dinners. You're not going to be able to go out to bars and celebrate things with your friends. It's important to remember the world we live in now, right? What have we got? Everything. Everything we have right now. Netflix. We've got so much entertainment in the house, it's ridiculous. If you don't have a computer, well, I don't know. I don't know what you do with your time, because on your computer alone, you've got Netflix, you've got YouTube, you've got Stan, you've got Hulu, you've got podcasts, you've got the internet. Hell, you've got porn. I mean, that's not going away. They might stop making it at the moment because they probably should. You know, safe sex only gets you so far with COVID-19. But there's plenty to do, people, and that doesn't even start with your smart TV either. PlayStation. Have you got a PlayStation? Have you got any sort of gaming console? Dust off the old PS1 that's up in, you know, the attic or in the garage maybe. We got heaps of stuff. I'm not a big reader myself. I'll read a comic book. Not a big reader, though. Maybe I'll become a big reader. Hell, maybe I'll become really good at guitar. Because God knows I don't practice enough. That was a good idea a month ago. I might start guitar. You know, a month passed and you go, oh, I've practiced a couple of times. Still know the start of that one song. You know, there's going to be time to, you know, knuckle down, get some things done. Look at it as an opportunity. All right, catch up on all those TV shows that you keep talking about. Oh, God, there's just no time. There's plenty of time coming up. There's plenty of time. So, yeah, there's been some weird things happen. For those that, I mean, sporting people out there, you know that there's talk of certain sports playing to no fans or, you know, cancelling the season altogether. The Australian, National Basketball League here in Australia, so the Australian Basketball League that we have, the NBL, we're in the middle of their grand final series. And one team just said, no, I think we should call it. I think it's a responsible thing to do, to call it. So now there's a bit of an arm wrestle of, well, who wins the championship? One team was 2 games up. Do they win it? Maybe. I don't know. That hasn't been discussed at this point in time, so that'll be interesting. The AFL, the Australian Football League, they're a shambles. They're borderline a disgrace at this point in time with how poorly they've handled the whole thing. They're talking about round 1, which is meant to be tomorrow night on Thursday, the 19th, as I said, and they're talking about still playing when no other sport is playing at the moment, which is bizarre to me. But then beyond that, you've got things like the WWE, the wrestling over in the States, the big, like, I don't think, again, you know, if you listen to this show, I love my wrestling, right? WWE is a global force. They are a huge entertainment company that does all kinds of things even beyond wrestling. They are fortunate enough that they have a training facility which is so high-tech and high-end that they actually have virtually a full TV studio in their training facility in order to train up-and-coming talent. They're now running TV shows. All their TV shows, all the, Raw, SmackDown, all these big wrestling TV shows that you've known for, 20 years are now being run out of this performance center in Tampa, Florida, with no people in the crowd. If you want to see something bizarre and weird, get on Twitter, get on YouTube, Facebook, whatever, and look up some of the past weeks' worth of Raw and SmackDown and see how weird it is when a wrestler, male or female, come out to their music with no cheering or booing, depending if they're good or bad. And they are so used to playing to crowds that they have to try and not play to crowds. Super weird. The whole thing is just bizarre. Bizarre. So that's been impacted. Everything has been impacted. There's now nothing that coronavirus hasn't touched. Maybe besides podcasting. Hey? That's fun, isn't it? Isn't it? Who's left standing? The podcasters. What do they get paid? Nothing. So it doesn't matter. Pretty much. But the point is, there's still things to listen to. There's entertainment. So it's not all bad. All right? It's not all bad. Let's talk about something fucking other. Sorry. Shouldn't be swearing. I'm trying to get out of a habit of swearing on this. But, sometimes when you're passionate about stuff, it just pops out. Let's talk about something other than COVID-19, shall we? I defied COVID-19 the other night and went to the movies because support your local cinema. And when I was there, I saw Invisible Man, which was fantastic. Invisible Man, so if you're not familiar, Invisible Man is one of the original sort of films in the line of the Universal Monsters universe. You would have heard about it a couple of years ago. Old mate, Tom Cruise, he was on board with The Mummy reboot. You saw it. Well, actually, you wouldn't have seen it because no one saw it, and it was a box office flop, which essentially, that in itself, killed Universal's attempt to launch their own cinematic universe by bringing back the Universal Monsters in that sort of series of films. So, Tom had a rare failure, and that The Mummy didn't hit. But Invisible Man was another one in development at the time where they're like, this will be another one of the Universal Monsters films. Fast forward 2 or so years, and it comes out, and there's a lot of, people being like, so, when The Mummy was a flop, were you surprised to hear that, obviously now we know that Universal's Monsters universe was not going to be, canned. And the director, you should see it. Everyone is just going, oh, no, this isn't part of that. This is different. It's sort of like the new Suicide Squad with James Gunn. He's like, oh, it's different, but it's sort of part of it, but it's not really at the same time. Just don't talk about that movie. People want to distance themselves from it. The Mummy, that is. So, what happened? Well, it's a hit. And when I say it's a hit, it is a really good film, and it's been really well received by everybody. And it came out sort of just before the whole thing we're not talking about at the moment came out. So, there was still people going to the movies. So, it was it's done okay at the box office, probably not as well as it would have done, unfortunately, which is that's probably why Universal's moving it to on demand, because they know with how well this movie's being received critically, there's no reason why people won't want to watch it. So let's talk about it, right? Did you ever see the 90s version of Invisible Man? I saw it when I was real young. It had Kevin Bacon in it, and he was the Invisible Man. And it's very different to this movie. It's more chemical-based science rather than it is tech-based science, which this new one is. This new one's very tech-savvy, tech-heavy. 90s-based one was a chemical reaction I believe he was a scientist, had to this test, and essentially he goes invisible. Probably a few more holes in that version now looking back on it than what I thought there was when I was, 11 when I watched it. But that is a really good movie. I always thought, at least at that point in time, that the concept of Invisible Man was scary as hell. Especially the power that somebody that is invisible gains. The power goes to their head. So in the 90s version, you see this Kevin Bacon character starts off as an alright guy. He's fine. He's pretty normal. But then he gets bitter and twisted by how much his life's been changed by this science experiment, and in the process starts becoming insane and sort of getting bitter and twisted, and then starts realizing that he actually has all the power now. And you know what? Screw it. If I'm going to be forced to live like this, I'm going to live and do what I want to do. So, yeah, that leads to a lot of creepy shit that he does. It always comes back to a female, largely. The male gaze, I guess. With a male sort of taking a dominant stance and sort of inserting his dominance over a female by having complete control over them due to being invisible. It's like, well, can't stop me now. It's a bit creepy, really. But that's the 90s version. This new one sort of took that whole idea and premise and spun it into a really, I guess what they did was they shone the mirror on, on the public and on life that we live, life that we know. Turn the mirror on us, I guess is what the saying is. Something like that. Where it's a true representation. It's more in line with what we know as humans. So it's sort of based around an abusive relationship. This woman escaping an abusive relationship to this really successful scientist. And I'm not, this is why Justin might have been good today, because I think he's seen Invisible Man. And you would have learned last week, Justin has a little bit of science-based knowledge. So I can't remember what type of scientist, nanotech? No, I think that's something from Marvel. Can't remember what science the guy was like a world leader in, this guy that she was in the relationship with. But regardless, very unhealthy, unstable relationship, abusive. She escapes him and then is living in fear, I guess, of that he's going to come back for her. One thing leads to another. He ends up being the Invisible Man. I don't want to give away anything more because they're plot twists. They really are. Throughout this whole movie, there's numerous plot twists where I saw it with two mates, right? Corona aside, I found myself hitting my mates. I was like, oh, did you see that coming? No, I didn't either. I'd heard only positive things about this movie, but still part of me went in thinking, yeah, but the concept of an Invisible Man is a bit of a flimsy one. How are they going to do it? Let me tell you straight up, they do it in a very realistic way, something that you could definitely envision happening in the real world, especially with where we know technology can go these days. So yes, Invisible Man in this film is a technology-based creation. Secondly, I guess there was the hesitation based on the other Universal Monsters films, but I guess you would probably have to be aware starting out that Invisible Man is from the Universal Monsters. So if you weren't aware of that, it may not have been a concern for you at all. So, yeah, what am I saying? I'm saying that now with Invisible Man going on demand, you'd be silly to not try and see it. Go and watch it. Pay for it on iTunes. Pay for it on Foxtel, wherever you can get it. Because if you're going to be in lockdown, folks, this is a good watch. Real good watch. The one thing I realized about an Invisible Man movie is that shit must be cheap to make. Pretty cheap. Because a lot of the time you're just filming stuff and there's no one there. You're just filming like a blank room. And it's so heavily sound engineered in terms of that's where the suspense is built. If you don't have a physical representation of your... Well, that's not true. You do have a physical representation through various ways of your antagonist, your bad guy. How do you do it? You build the suspense through sound, through lighting. You find these other tricks, quick edits, cuts, other things to build suspense within the audience. So coming out of the movie, I saw it with Ben, who you know Ben from the podcast. We spoke about stand-up comedy a couple episodes back. I was with him, and he's like, God, the sound was... It was actually so intense at one point that like it was getting to me. It was annoying me almost. I was like, yeah, because, you know, you're probably annoyed because that's the idea. Like it's trying to overwhelm you with... It's trying to overwhelm all your other senses, which are heightened by the fact that your visual senses aren't being stimulated as much because you can't see the Invisible Man. What are you trained to do in a horror film when you're watching a horror movie? You're trained to look for the baddie. Like, where's he going to pop out from? Is that him? Where is he? There he is. Invisible Man, that doesn't happen as much. That's harder. That's sort of taken away. Because he's not there. You get some fantastic, whether this is a writer thing or a director thing, I'm not too sure, but you get some really fantastic representations of the Invisible Man, like being able to demonstrate him actually being there. So at one point, the female lead in the movie is asleep in her bed, and the doona gets pulled off her. And she wakes up and she's already like, I'm pretty sure he's in here. And she goes to pick up the doona to put it back on the bed. And as she pulls it up, there's something standing on the other end. And there's just... I wouldn't even call it footprints as much as I would call it... Like if you were standing on the edge of a sheet and it was between your feet, there'd be that little like rise in the sheet between your 2 feet. Because you're like sort of like squishing it together a little bit. It's that. If that makes any sense to you, because it makes a lot of sense to me. But it was that. And I was like, that is so cool. Because they could have done a stupid footprint, which wouldn't have made that much sense. But just that little subtle rise in the sheet. There was also another great moment where... this is probably just giving too much away. Like, I'll tell you this one thing. It'll be like 20 seconds worth. If you don't want to hear it, just hit that little fast forward. I think it's 15 seconds. Maybe hit it twice, then go back once, and that should get you around where we will catch back up at. So what happens is she's in the attic, and she's up there because she heard his phone up there. And so she's up there, she finds his phone, and he's like, surprise. And then she goes back to the attic, and then she's looking down the manhole of the attic where you'd climb back down to go back into the house. Anyway, there's a ladder there. And she's like, is he on the ladder? Holy crap. She grabs a paint tin, opens it, throws the paint down the manhole, and then bang, right in your face. He is on the ladder and he's right there in her face and now he's covered in paint. Really cool. Really cool moment. All right. That was awesome. Okay. Welcome back to those that skip forward. Thank you for that. It was, once you've seen it, go back, listen to it because you might appreciate how much I too enjoyed that particular moment. So yeah, look guys, heaps of stuff out there that you can be doing. Again, want to recap that Justin and I were really... Justin actually wanted me to highlight how correct we were in some of our assumptions with the movies being pushed back, certain things being shut down. Go back, listen to my episode with Justin. It was like this weird, sort of like a looking glass. No, what do they call those balls where you like... you look into the future through the ball. Oh God, if somebody knows this, comment it, will you? I don't know what it is. But we were pretty happy with the fact that we delivered an episode which seemed to be quite knowledgeable, seemed to be quite finger on the pulse of what was happening in the world. And again, we're probably just looking for a little win, because that's what the next little while is going to be about, guys, is the little wins. Take them all while you can get them. Hope you've had some little wins at the supermarket. You got some stuff. I came home the other day. Dad had bought, seemingly, only been able to buy meat pies, which are a real thing here in Australia. Meat pies. Apparently he thinks we're going to be able to live on that for a couple of weeks. Again, let me stress to you, the government said the Woolworths and the Coles and the Aldis, they're not closing, okay? They're going to stay open because they're essentials. There's going to be toilet paper for everyone. All right, let's not start wiping our ass with leaves and that sort of stuff. We're not there yet. We're not there. There's too many resources in the world. I digress. I'm excited to catch up on some of the things I've got to watch. What am I going to watch? Let's talk about that quickly before we wrap up. What will I watch in lockdown? Fun. Here's a little list we can do. The Witcher. I still haven't seen The Witcher. And you know why I haven't watched The Witcher yet? It's almost perfect for a lockdown scenario, because I feel like it's going to be a bit of a, not dry, but a slow build. And so I feel like I need to be mentally prepared for it. You know, a lockdown's going to force that mental preparedness, I feel. So The Witcher, I reckon that's going to be on the cards. That's going to be good. I've been wanting to re-watch the Batman, the animated series. I've got that on Blu-ray. I reckon I might binge that. They're nice, short, sharp, 20-minute episodes. Actually, guys, one other thing I watched in the last couple of days is the newest season of Jim Carrey's Kidding. I think I've spoken about it on the podcast before, maybe last year when the first season was out. If you're not familiar with it, Jim Carrey's got a great show on Stan at the moment, and it's essentially about a child. What do they call them? Not a child performer. That's when a kid's a performer. Like what children's entertainment, children's performer. Yeah, that may be it. Sort of like Mr. Rogers in America. You might have seen Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood that came out recently. Or like Play School here in Australia. He has his own show. Essentially, he's a really famous children's performer, and it's about the mentally unstable side of his personality, which is so contrasting to trying to be a children's performer. So trying to navigate his screwed up personal life through various tragedies and, you know, divorces and whatnot, all while not... Actually, no, he does represent it through his TV show for kids, but finding a way to communicate, you know, and navigate through life that does have challenges. And so it's interesting. It's really, I don't know if that made any sense. But if you're looking for another show to binge in lockdown, Kidding on Stan, you know, that's really good. Highly recommend that. Stan's got heaps of stuff. What else am I going to watch? I'm trying to think of my to-watch list on Netflix. You know what? I'll just get it up. I'll just get it up right now because you can access it on your phone. Because again, unless the power goes down, guys, we're going to have electricity. We're going to have full phone battery. You know, you're going to be with your charger 24/7. It's going to be great. All right, my list. What have we got? I've never finished all of Arrested Development. That's one I wouldn't mind watching. Sort of start to finish. What else? Oh, I don't even want to admit this. This one's a bit embarrassing. I've only seen the first 2 seasons of Rick and Morty, so I've got a bit of exciting watching there to do. Mad Men struggled with the first season, but I've still kept it in my to-watch list just because I still feel like I'm missing out on not having seen it. You know, like, you know, when everyone else has seen something. It's sort of why I watched The Sopranos all those years ago. I was like, oh, everyone still talks about The Sopranos. I thought this would die off. Probably why I'll have to watch Game of Thrones at some point. What else? Logan Lucky. I saw that was on Netflix now. That looked good. Mindhunter. Been cancelled now, but could watch that. Catch Me If You Can. Poor Tom Hanks. Apparently he's doing all right, though. The Irishman will take up an afternoon. World War Z. Don't think I'll watch that. Watched enough post-apocalyptic stuff. You get the idea. My watch list is extensive. The Matrix is still in there because I want to rewatch that. Lost in Space, The People vs. O.J. Simpson, The Godfather. Well, I've seen The Godfather. I don't know why that's in there. Wonder. Don't really want to cry, though. When They See Us, that looked pretty stuffed up. Going Clear, Scientology and the Prison of Belief. Oh, I love a Scientology show. There's plenty of entertainment, guys. I'm not going to get bored. I hope you don't get bored either. I'll still do the podcast. If you're that desperate for something to do or something to listen to, or dare I call it entertainment, there will be a pop culture report as frequently as possible. Okay? If the internet goes down, well, us podcasters are screwed too. But, touch wood, we're not going to get there, alright? Everyone, keep freaking calm. I'm sick of the chaos. Everyone just relax. Just chill. Just chill. Just use the time to catch up on your Netflix to watch list and all your other shows that you keep saying there's no time to watch. There's plenty of time now, guys. There's no excuse, alright? Have fun out there, stay safe, and just enjoy the pop culture while you've got some time at home. Don't forget you can catch past episodes or subscribe to the podcast through your podcast app, or you can head over to cheekyleprechaun.com.au. I'm Dan O'Kelly. It's another edition of the Pop Culture Report. Chat to you soon.
This has been a Cheeky Leprechaun production.